The MMA champion laughed as he grabbed the old man's wrist. "You think you can teach me martial arts? Old man, I'll break you in 5 seconds." But what he didn't know was that this old man was Steven Seagal, a 7th-degree black belt, Aikido master, Hollywood legend. And what happened in the next 30 seconds, this champion will remember for the rest of his life. It was a regular afternoon at Iron Fist Gym in Los Angeles. Weights clanging, fighters sparring, egos clashing. In the corner stood Marcus the Mauler Chen, undefeated MMA champion, 6'2", 230 pounds of pure muscle and attitude. He was loud, cocky, always looking for someone to embarrass. Then the door opened. A man walked in, late 60s, calm face, black ponytail, loose jacket, no bodyguards, no noise, just presence. Steven Seagal. But nobody recognized him. Marcus noticed and smirked. "Yo, old man, this ain't a retirement home, you lost?" His crew erupted in laughter. Phones started recording. Steven didn't react. He just stood there, watching. "I said, are you lost?" Steven's voice came low and calm. "I'm exactly where I need to be." Marcus stepped closer, chest puffed out. "Oh yeah? And what are you gonna do here, Grandpa?" Steven smiled faintly. "If you're willing, I can show you something." Marcus grinned like a wolf. "Show me? Bro, I'm a champion. What could you possibly show me?" Steven's tone didn't change. Respect, discipline, and how fast pride can put you on the ground. The gym went silent. Marcus cracked his knuckles. "All right, old man, let's see what you got." Steven calmly removed his sunglasses. The old coach in the corner suddenly stood up. "Wait, Marcus, stop!" But it was too late. Marcus lunged forward. The gym held its breath. And what happened next, nobody saw coming. Marcus charged like a bull, fast, aggressive, full of power. But Steven? He didn't move until the last second. One fluid motion. He sidestepped, redirected Marcus's momentum, and in less than 2 seconds, thud, Marcus hit the mat hard. The gym gasped. Phones captured everything. "What the?" Marcus scrambled to his feet, face red, half from impact, half from embarrassment. "Lucky shot, old man. Let's go again." Steven stood calm, hands open, relaxed stance. No tension, no fear. "You're using force. That's your weakness. Shut up." Let me take you back 3 hours earlier. Steven Seagal had been in Los Angeles for a private meeting with an old student, a former LAPD officer he'd trained decades ago. After lunch, his student mentioned a gym nearby. "You should check it out, Sensei. Iron Fist Gym. Some good fighters there. But what? The head trainer there, Marcus Chen, talented kid, undefeated in his division, but his ego is out of control. He bullies younger fighters, mocks anyone who disagrees with him." Steven nodded slowly. "Sounds like he needs a lesson more than a trophy." "You're thinking what I think you're thinking?" Steven smiled. "I'm just going to observe." "Sure you are," his student laughed. "Just try not to break him too badly." When Steven walked into Iron Fist Gym, he wasn't looking for trouble. He genuinely wanted to watch, to see how martial arts were being taught in the modern era. But the moment Marcus opened his mouth, he knew. This wasn't about skill. This was about character. And character can only be taught through humility. Back on the mat, Marcus threw a sharp punch, fast, trained, powerful. But Steven barely moved. He deflected it with his forearm, trapped Marcus's wrist, twisted slightly, and suddenly Marcus was face down on the mat again, arm locked behind him. No struggle, no effort, just precision. "Ah, let go!" Steven released him gently and stepped back. Aikido is not about strength. It's about flow, timing, using your opponent's energy against them. Marcus stood up, breathing heavy, fists clenched. His crew was silent now. The laughter had stopped. One guy muttered, "Yo, that move was insane." Another whispered, "Wait, I think I know who that is." But Marcus wasn't listening. His pride was shattered. His reputation was on the line. One more time, best of 3. Steven sighed, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "You don't need to prove anything. You're skilled, strong, fast. But skill without humility is just noise." "I said one more time." The gym was packed now. Word had spread. People from other sections came to watch. Some were filming, others were whispering. Is that Steven Seagal? No way, can't be. Bro, look at the ponytail, the stance, that's him. This time Marcus came in smart. Feints, footwork, trying to bait Steven into moving first. But Steven read every move like a book he wrote himself. Marcus threw a low kick. Steven checked it effortlessly. Marcus switched to a takedown attempt. Steven sprawled, reversed, and in one lightning-fast motion, he had Marcus on a standing wrist lock, controlling him completely. Marcus struggled, grunted, tried to power out with all his strength, but the more he resisted, the worse pain shot through his arm. Do you feel that? Steven's voice was calm, almost teaching. That's your own strength working against you. The harder you fight, the worse it gets. Marcus's knees buckled, not from pain, from realization. Steven released him gently, carefully. This time, Marcus fell to his knees and stayed there. His chest heaved, sweat dripped on the mat. Who are you? Coach Ray finally walked over, shaking his head with a knowing smile. Marcus, meet Steven Seagal, 7th degree black belt in Aikido, trained law enforcement, military, and fighters for over 40 years, and the man whose movies you probably grew up watching. Marcus looked up, eyes wide, face pale, voice barely a whisper. Wait, the Steven Seagal? Under siege? Hard to kill? That Steven Seagal? Steven nodded slightly. And about 50 years of real martial arts before any of that. The gym erupted.
Drop a fire in the comments if you think Marcus just learned the lesson of his life. And tell me, have you ever met someone who completely humbled you? Share your story below. For a long moment, nobody moved. Marcus stayed on his knees, staring at the mat where his ego had just been shattered into 1,000 pieces. His crew didn't know whether to laugh, help him up, or pretend they didn't know him. The entire gym watched in silence, some in shock, others in satisfaction, because everyone there had been disrespected by Marcus at some point. And now, karma had arrived, wearing a ponytail and a black jacket. But then something unexpected happened. Marcus's phone buzzed loudly. He glanced at it. A notification from his social media. Someone had already posted the video. MMA champion gets destroyed by old man in gym. 10,000 views in 3 minutes. Comments flooding in. Bro got humbled. That's what happens when you talk too much. Who is that old guy? He's a beast. Marcus's hands trembled, not from pain, from humiliation. His entire reputation, everything he'd built, was crumbling in real time. He stood up slowly, fists clenched, jaw tight. Steven watched him carefully, not with judgment, with concern. You okay? Marcus didn't answer. He just stared at Steven with a mix of anger, confusion, and something else. Respect? Maybe, but also resentment. You made me look like a fool, Marcus said quietly. No, you did that yourself. What? I didn't come here to embarrass you. You chose to attack. You chose to disrespect. I simply responded. Marcus's breathing quickened. His emotions were boiling over. Do you know what you just did? My career, my sponsors, everything I worked for, gone because of you. Steven's expression didn't change. If your career is built on arrogance, then maybe it needed to fall. The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. His crew shifted uncomfortably. A few people in the crowd nodded. But Marcus, he snapped. You don't know anything about me. You waltz in here, show off some fancy moves, and act like you're better than everyone? Steven remained still, unmoved. I never said I was better. I said you need to learn respect. Respect? You just humiliated me in front of everyone. No, I showed you the truth. What you do with it is up to you. Marcus's breathing quickened. His emotions were boiling over. Hands balled into fists, veins popped in his neck. For a split second, it looked like he might swing again. But Steven didn't flinch, didn't move, didn't even blink. He just stood there, calm, centered,
completely in control. And that broke something inside Marcus. His shoulders dropped, his fists unclenched. And then, quietly, almost inaudibly, he said, "I don't know what to do." The gym went silent again, but this time it was different. This wasn't shock, it was empathy. Steven stepped forward and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You start by accepting that strength without wisdom is just violence waiting to happen." Marcus looked up, eyes red. "I've spent my whole life trying to be the best, to prove I'm the strongest, and now I don't even know who I am." Steven nodded slowly. "That's the first honest thing you've said since I walked in here." He guided Marcus to sit on a nearby bench. The crowd gave them space. Even the phones stopped recording. Steven sat beside him. "You want to know why I didn't hurt you?" Steven asked. Marcus nodded. "Because I've been where you are, young, talented, convinced that power made me invincible. And then, one day, someone older, wiser, humbler showed me the truth." "What truth?" "That real mastery isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering yourself." Marcus wiped his face with his shirt. "How do I do that?" Steven smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "You already started by asking." He stood up and extended his hand. "Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., there's a small dojo on 5th and Spring. If you show up, I'll teach you, not how to fight, but how to be." Marcus stared at the hand, then at Steven's face, and for the first time in years, he felt something other than pride. He felt hope. He shook Steven's hand. "I'll be there." Steven walked toward the door, his jacket draped over his arm. The gym remained silent, but it was a different kind of silence now. Not shock, not mockery, respect. As he reached the exit, Coach Ray called out, "Steven, thank you." Steven paused and turned slightly. "For what?" "For not breaking him. You could have, easily, but you didn't." Steven's eyes softened. Breaking people is easy. Building them back up, that takes real strength. And with that, he walked out into the Los Angeles afternoon sun. The moment the door closed, the gym exploded. "Bro, that was insane! Did we just watch Steven Seagal destroy someone in real life?" "Marcus, you good, man?" But Marcus didn't respond to any of them. He just sat there, staring at his hands, the same hands that tried to attack a legend. His phone kept buzzing, notifications, messages, calls, but he ignored them all. Jamie, his longtime training partner, sat down beside him. "Marcus, talk to me. What's going on in your head?" Marcus finally spoke, voice hoarse. "I've never felt like that before." "Felt like what?" "Powerless, completely outclassed, like a white belt on his first day." Jamie nodded slowly. "That's because you were. Against him, we all are." Another fighter, Tony, a former kickboxing champion, walked over. "Yo, Marcus, real talk? I've been waiting for someone to humble you for years." Marcus looked up, expecting an insult, but Tony's face was serious, honest. "You're talented, bro. One of the best I've seen, but you've been using that talent to tear people down instead of lifting them up." "I know," Marcus whispered. "Then fix it." "How?" Tony pointed toward the door. "He just gave you the roadmap. 6 a.m., 5th and Spring. You gonna take it?" Marcus hesitated. "What if I'm not good enough? What if he shows up and he realizes I'm just some arrogant punk who got lucky in the cage?" Jamie leaned in. "Then you prove him wrong, not with your fists, with your heart." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every second of the encounter. The takedowns, the control, the effortless precision. But more than that, the calm. Steven never got angry, never raised his voice, never gloated. He just was. Marcus grabbed his phone and searched Steven Seagal Aikido. Video after video appeared. Steven training law enforcement, Steven demonstrating techniques on Navy SEALs, Steven teaching discipline, flow, awareness. One video stood out, an interview from 20 years ago. The interviewer asked, "What's the most important lesson in martial arts?" Steven's answer was simple: control, not of your opponent, of yourself. Because the moment you lose control of yourself, you've already lost the fight. Marcus replayed that line 5 times. He opened his social media. The video of his takedown had gone viral. 500,000 views now, thousands of comments. Most were mocking him. Imagine getting folded by a grandpa. Ego checked. That's what happens when you talk too much. But some were different. Respect to both of them. The old man for the lesson, the fighter for taking it. This is what martial arts is really about. I hope this kid learns from this. Marcus took a deep breath, and then he did something he'd never done before. He posted a response. "Today I learned a lesson I'll never forget. I disrespected someone I should have honored. I let my ego convince me I was untouchable. I was wrong. Steven Seagal didn't just beat me, he showed me what real strength looks like. Tomorrow, I start over, not as a champion, as a student. Thank you, Sensei." He hit post and turned off his phone. His hands were still shaking, not from fear, from anticipation. Because tomorrow, everything would change. The alarm went off at 5 a.m. Marcus didn't hit snooze. He got up, put on his gi, grabbed his keys, and walked out the door. The streets were empty, the city still asleep. But Marcus, he was wide awake. For the first time in years, he felt alive.
Type ready if you think Marcus is about to have the transformation of his life. And tell me, have you ever had a moment that completely changed your perspective? Share it below. 5:45 a.m. Marcus stood outside a small, unmarked building on 5th and Spring. The dojo looked ancient. Weathered wood, faded paint, a single paper lantern hanging by the door. No sign, no advertising, no flashy branding. Just a wooden door, slightly open. Marcus hesitated. His heart pounded. His palms sweated. What if this is a mistake? What if he changed his mind? What if I'm not worthy? But then he remembered Steven's words. "If you show up, I'll teach you." He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The interior was simple, beautiful in its simplicity. Polished wooden floors, traditional tatami mats, weapons displayed on the walls, bokken, jo staff, tanto. A small shrine sat in the corner with incense burning, filling the air with a calming scent. And there, in the center of the room, sat Steven Seagal. Cross-legged, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees, perfectly still, breathing slow and deep. Marcus froze, unsure whether to speak or wait. Steven's voice came soft but clear. "You're early." "Good." Marcus blinked. "How did you—" "I heard your footsteps, your breathing, your hesitation at the door." Steven opened his eyes and looked directly at Marcus. Awareness begins before the fight, before the opponent moves, before the thought becomes action. He gestured to the mat across from him. "Sit." Marcus sat down, awkward and stiff, trying to mirror Steven's posture. For a long moment, neither spoke. Just silence, just breathing, just presence. Marcus's mind raced. Should I say something? Apologize again? Ask a question? But Steven remained still, eyes half closed, completely at peace. And slowly, Marcus's breathing began to sync with his. In, out, in, out. The noise in his head started to fade. Finally, Steven spoke. "Why are you here?" Marcus swallowed hard. "Because I was arrogant, disrespectful and wrong, and I want to learn." "Learn what?" "How to be better, not just as a fighter, as a person." Steven studied him for a long moment. "That's a long road." "I know. And it's not about trophies or Instagram followers or proving anything to anyone.
I know. Do you? The question hung in the air like a blade. Marcus met Steven's gaze. No, not yet. But I want to. Steven smiled, barely, but it was there. Then we begin. He stood and motioned for Marcus to follow him. They walked to the center of the mat. Before I teach you anything, you need to unlearn something. What? That strength is the answer. Steven gestured to a wooden staff leaning against the wall. Pick it up. Marcus grabbed it. Solid oak, perfectly balanced, heavier than it looked. Now, try to hit me with it. Marcus hesitated. Are you sure? I'm sure. Don't hold back. If you hold back, you learn nothing. Marcus gripped the staff, adjusted his stance, and swung, controlled but firm. Steven moved like smoke. Barely a shift of his body and the staff cut through empty air. Marcus blinked. How? Again. Marcus swung faster this time. Steven redirected it with one finger, just a gentle touch, and the staff's momentum carried it away. Again, harder. Marcus put real power behind it now. Steven stepped inside the swing, placed his palm on Marcus's chest, and with the gentlest push, Marcus stumbled backwards, completely off balance, the staff falling from his hands. He caught himself, breathing hard. I don't understand. You barely touched me. Steven picked up the staff and handed it back. Exactly. I didn't stop your force. I didn't overpower you. I simply redirected your energy, used your own momentum against you. He tapped Marcus's chest lightly. You think strength comes from here, from muscle, from power. Then he tapped Marcus's forehead. But real strength, it comes from here, from awareness, from understanding that the fight is already over before it begins. Marcus stared at the staff in his hands. Everything he thought he knew about fighting was wrong. Steven placed a hand on his shoulder. For the next hour, I'm going to teach you one thing. Just one. What's that? How to fall. Marcus frowned. Fall? Yes, because if you don't know how to fall, you'll never know how to stand. And the lesson began. For the next hour, Marcus fell. Over and over and over again. Not from attacks, not from throws, but from learning how to receive the ground without fighting it. Relax your body, Steven instructed. The moment you tense up, you get injured. Flow with the fall. Become one with it. Marcus hit the mat. Hard. Again. He got up. Fell again. Your shoulder is too stiff. Let it roll. Again. Better, but you're anticipating the impact. Don't think, just move. Again. And again. And again. And again. By the end, Marcus was drenched in sweat. But something had changed. The falls didn't hurt anymore. His body had learned to move with the momentum instead of against it. Steven handed him a towel and a cup of water. How do you feel? Marcus wiped his face, breathing heavily but smiling. Like I just learned more about martial arts in 1 hour than in 10 years of training. Good, because that's the truth. They sat down on the edge of the mat. Steven poured himself tea from a small ceramic pot. You know why I taught you how to fall first? Marcus shook his head. Because in life, you will fall. Many times. Failure, rejection, humiliation, loss. He took a slow sip. But if you don't know how to fall correctly, those things will break you. However, if you learn to fall with grace, you can get up stronger every single time. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. Yesterday, when you put me on the mat, I didn't know how to handle it. I know. My whole identity was tied to being undefeated, to being the best, and when you took that away, I didn't know who I was anymore. Steven nodded. That's because you built your identity on sand, wins and losses, titles and rankings. These things are temporary. They shift. They fade. He placed his cup down. But who you are as a person,
Your character, your integrity, that's the foundation, and no one can take that from you, unless you let them. Marcus looked down at his hands, calloused, strong, but trembling slightly. I've hurt people with these hands. Not just in the cage, outside of it. I've bullied training partners, disrespected coaches, made people feel small so I could feel big. His voice cracked. How do I fix that? Steven stood and walked to the weapons wall. He picked up a small wooden tanto, a practice knife. You see this? Marcus nodded. A weapon is not good or evil. It's a tool. What matters is the intention of the person holding it. He handed it to Marcus. Your strength is a weapon. Your skill is a weapon. Even your words are weapons. The question is, what are you going to use them for? Marcus stared at the wooden blade. I want to use them to help people, to protect people, not to hurt them. Then that's your path. Steven took the tanto back and placed it on the wall. You have talent, Marcus, real talent. But talent without purpose is just noise. Find your purpose, and everything else will follow. They walked towards the door together. The sun was rising now, golden light spilling through the cracks in the wooden walls. Steven stopped at the entrance. Come back next week, same time. Next week? Not tomorrow? Steven smiled. No, I want you to practice what I showed you, alone, in silence, without your crew, without your phone, without your ego. He placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. If you can do that, if you can train in solitude and humility, then you'll be ready for the next lesson. Marcus bowed deeply. Thank you, Sensei. I won't let you down. Steven bowed back. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you've changed. Marcus walked out into the morning light. The city was waking up, cars passing, people starting their day, the world moving forward. But Marcus felt different, lighter, calmer, clearer. He looked back at the dojo one more time, and Steven stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching him with quiet approval. Marcus bowed again. Steven bowed back, and the door slowly closed. Marcus got into his car and sat there for a moment. He pulled out his phone. 47 missed calls, 200+ messages, sponsors demanding explanations, reporters asking for interviews, friends wanting gossip. He turned the phone off and drove home in silence. For the first time in years, the noise didn't matter.
3 months later, Marcus walked into Iron Fist Gym. But this time, everything was different. His steps were quieter. His presence was calmer. No loud entrance, no demanding attention, no ego. Just presence. Coach Ray noticed him first and smiled. Marcus, good to see you, son. Good to see you too, Coach. Jamie rushed over, eyes wide. Bro, where have you been? You disappeared. No posts, no calls, nothing. Marcus smiled softly. I've been training. With who? Marcus didn't answer. He just walked to the center mat. Anyone want to spar? A new fighter stepped forward, young, cocky, undefeated in his last 8 amateur fights. His name was Devin, and he had the same energy Marcus used to have. I'll take you on, old champ. Heard you got humbled by some grandpa a few months back. The gym went quiet. Everyone watched Marcus, waiting for him to snap, to explode, to defend his reputation. But Marcus just smiled. Yeah, I did. Best thing that ever happened to me. Devin laughed. We'll see about that. They squared up. Devin lunged, fast, aggressive, trying to prove himself. But Marcus? He moved like water. No wasted motion, no excess energy. He sidestepped, redirected Devin's momentum, and in 3 seconds, Devin was on the mat, unharmed, controlled, confused. What the? Marcus extended his hand. You're strong, but strength without control is just chaos. Devin stared at the hand, then at Marcus's face. Slowly, he took it. Marcus pulled him up gently. You remind me of someone I used to be. Who? Someone who thought power was everything, until someone showed me it wasn't.
Coach Ray walked over, arms crossed, smiling proudly. "You finally get it, don't you?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah, Coach, I finally get it." Jamie slapped him on the back. "Bro, you're like a completely different person. What happened to you?" Marcus looked toward the gym entrance, the same door Steven had walked through 3 months ago. "I met someone who didn't just teach me how to fight. He taught me how to be." "Who?" Marcus smiled. "A teacher who appears when the student is ready and disappears when the student is ready to teach. You are ready. Now go and pass it on." Marcus's breath caught in his throat. He touched the sign gently, then pressed his forehead against the door. "Thank you, Sensei," he whispered. He stood there for a long moment. Then he bowed deeply, to the door, to the dojo, to the memory of every lesson, and walked away. Not sad, not disappointed, just grateful. Because he understood now. The greatest teachers don't create followers, they create teachers. That evening, Marcus returned to Iron Fist Gym. He found Devin sitting alone, icing his shoulder, scrolling through his phone. Marcus sat down next to him. "You free tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.? Devin looked up, confused. "Why?" "Because I want to teach you something." "Teach me what?" Marcus smiled. "How to fall." Devin frowned. "Fall? Bro, I need to learn how to win." Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder, the same way Steven had done to him. "Trust me, learn how to fall, and you'll never lose." Devin stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly, he nodded. "All right, 6 a.m. I'll be there." Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn through humility, discipline, and character. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. And the greatest victories in life aren't the ones you win in front of a crowd. They're the ones you win inside yourself, when no one's watching. Steven Seagal didn't just defeat Marcus that day. He saved him. And now, Marcus would do the same for others. Because that's what real warriors do. They break the cycle of ego, and they build a legacy of respect.
More incredible stories are coming your way. Drop a comment and tell us which part hit you the hardest. We want to make the next one even better for you.